Hello and welcome to the Soulful Mamas podcast. You're with your host Maria and you are so welcome here. So today, how are you by the way? How are you doing? I'm thinking I need to bring you um, the next installment of my parenting journey. So my very first episode was my entry into motherhood with my son Jack, and if you've listened to that, go and have a listen to it. I just re-listened to it actually just to remember what I'd said, and sometimes I think I can't even believe that happened. Such a crazy story, but it's a true story. And anyway, my story with my second child, my daughter, is completely different. It's the complete opposite to Jack's story. So I thought, um, I think it's time I share that one, and it's because as I'm recording, it's 27th of February today, and it is Maya's birthday on the 3rd of March, and she will be 12, and 12 is her favourite number. She's born in 2012, and I thought, okay, let me, as you know, she's on my mind, obviously always on my mind, but a lot at the moment because, it's all about the birthday and what we're doing and the food and the menu and the friends and the la 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 la, all the things. So I thought, let me record an episode and share with you Maya's story. So the pregnancy with Maya was, you remember with Jack, I didn't find out until I was 18 weeks pregnant. With her, I pretty much knew straight away. I followed all of the rules. I took the supplements. I ate properly. I did everything that I was told I was supposed to do. It was a hard pregnancy, though. She was a big baby, and the way she was sitting, I was quite uncomfortable, and I was a waddler, the waddlers. And quite often I'd think, how the hell did I used to bike when I was pregnant with Jack up until 8 months? I could barely get myself in the car with Maya, let alone get on a bike. It just blows my mind even today. And I got varicose veins with her, so I had to wear those beautiful, sexy compression tights, and particularly in my third trimester, which was all through summer, and it was a hot as hell summer. So yeah, happy days. And I was working as well. So uh, the difference, I think, in the pregnancy, many differences. But although with Jack, I was sort of floundering and didn't really know what was going on, and I was carrying a bit of guilt and uncertainty and overwhelm. But it was different, it's stressful, I guess. But with Maya, I had stress, a different type of stress, and that was in the workplace. And my boss had gone away and left me in charge for a good few months, and there was a lot to deal with in managing staff, and there were some very stressful moments in that time, and I really don't think that would have been helpful at all. Carrying this little wee person inside me, but that's the one thing that was quite prominent, and it's the thing I couldn't eliminate. Well, didn't eliminate. And so also you remember Jack was 2 weeks early. Maya was a week late. So those days leading up, her due date was around about now as I'm recording, the 26th, I think it was, of February. And she was fully in position a few weeks beforehand, and my midwife thought, yep, she's probably going to be early as well. And she just didn't come. All she did was keep growing. She was quite comfortable in there. And then I was told, we might have to think about being induced. And I thought, there's no way I'm doing that. That's a no from me. And And also when they did a check, they realised that she had moved and she was breech. And they said, well, if she actually doesn't move back, you're potentially going to have a cesarean. And I thought, oh God, that's also a no. that's also not going to happen. And I thought, okay, what I did was I did everything, all of the things to try and bring on labour and everything. But what I did was the night before she was born, I properly connected with her. And I'd sort of felt quite connected to her prior to this, but this night I thought I didn't feel stressed and I didn't feel scared and I didn't feel worried. I knew I knew that I wasn't going to need to be induced and I knew that I wouldn't need a cesarean. And yes, possibly the Taurian stubbornness, who knows? But I just felt like that's not what was going to happen this time. And I remember I was just walking around my kitchen, sort of swaying the hips, trying to encourage her back into position. And I was just connecting with her, having a conversation. And I hadn't done that in that way before. And I felt this really deep peace. It's really hard to explain. I just felt at ease, I felt peaceful, and I felt like we were a bit of a little team. Went to bed and then I woke up early hours in the morning and I knew I was in labour. And I was so excited. Yay, I'm in labour. And it's not usually the response, but gee, I was happy. And yeah, it was pretty intense, but to the point where my sister-in-law came to look after Jack, who was, asleep in the room, and she'd forgotten her aspirin inhaler and came to our place, panicking, almost having an asthma attack, and I had to then send her home to go and get it as I'm fully in labour. I'm like, "It's fine. Off you go. Go and get it. You have to look after my child soon, so I need you to be well." Anyway, we just had to drive not far. I'm talking pretty much round the corner to the birth centre from our house. And at first I thought, you know what, when I go into labour, I can just walk, I'll just walk around there. It's not far. Well, what an idiot. No way. It was so intense. I could only just manage that drive around the corner. And again, I'm thinking of me in labour with Jack and I'm driving 5 hours to get back home. And yeah, the things we do, I tell you. So we get to the birth unit and she was pretty much born. She's born at 8 in the morning. So it was a fairly, when you say easy, is there ever an easy, but uneventful labour, considering I could have had to have been induced, could have had to have a cesarean and da, 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 da. So I was pretty grateful. But when she came out and they placed her on my chest, and she just looked up at me and with these big, well, I couldn't tell they were brown eyes at that point, but these big eyes, knowing eyes, and she looked at me and she said, and with her eyes, "Hey, Mum, I'm here. I'm just a little bit hungry." And there's this connection that we had, and it was like a knowing. I knew this girl, and she completely knew me. And then she proceeded to feed for a good hour. They couldn't get her off me, which is great. I didn't need her to be got off me, if that makes sense. So it was a really beautiful start, and she was such an easy baby. I still can't believe this. I would put her into her little bed and she would sleep. I just put her down and she'd sleep. Can you believe that? Jack, he was I had to wear him, or I had to be rocking him, or in a hammock. There's the, shush, shush, pat, pat, commando crawl out the room type thing. That was Jack. Maya, no, I just pop her into bed and she'd just lie there content and then she'd just go to sleep. And I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. I'd be checking on her all of the time. Are you still breathing? Don't quite know what to do with myself. It was very, very different. What she did have though was her skin was not that smooth baby skin, that soft, buttery baby skin. It was a little bit rough. And midwife just said, oh, just keep an eye on that. It could be anything. But as time progressed, that rough skin didn't really go away. And as we got closer to, as we started on solid foods, I noticed it got a little bit worse. So it was getting a bit aggravated. And that was the very beginnings of our journey with eczema. And I'm just trying to think how to share this part of the story with you in a nutshell, because it's long. it's a lot. But basically we went through a really, really, really intense 4 years of navigating eczema, learning about eczema, and all that it is. I knew nothing about it beforehand. I just thought it was a skin condition that's itchy. And I knew it wasn't pleasant for some people, but I had no idea how it can take over your life and be really debilitating as well. Yeah, so, and I'm just going to do a little preempt before I keep sharing. This is my story. This is my journey, or our journey, my family's journey. And the choices we made are what was in the best interest of us, our family, and we did it. It's just the way that we chose to do it. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong for anybody else, but for us, it was the right thing. And I mean, people even today come and ask me about what to do for eczema. I'm not a professional expert, but you kind of become an expert in your own child. So for Maya and her eczema, I was an expert because nobody knew her and what we're going through more than I did. And so I was qualified in that, if you like. But it's so unique. And so for every other person, their journey is a little bit different. So what may work for them or not work for them will be different. And it's quite a trial and error process, and there certainly isn't a quick fix. So, yeah, I'm going to share with you what we did and didn't do, and yeah, that's our journey. So, which leads me to the next little part. So, yes, with food, I noticed she was getting a little bit aggravated. GPs trying to prescribe steroid cream, which did not sit right with me at all for a baby. And then at the same time, I'm getting a lot of pressure to immunise her. And we hadn't fully made up our mind what we're doing, but I absolutely knew that there's no way I was going to start at 6 weeks, like the schedule says you should do. We're definitely going to delay it if we did it all. I needed time. And so by about 8 months, by this point, we have the immunisation nurses clinic. I don't know who they are. They would turn up on my doorstep. That happened 2 or 3 times, constant phone calls. And they wouldn't listen to me when I just said, there's many reasons why I'm taking my time and considering this fully. But one of them is the fact that she has eczema and she's obviously very sensitive. So it feels extremely counterintuitive to put chemicals into her body that she's quite likely going to react to. She can't even handle like soap, like anything, dishwashing, laundry detergent, everything. I have to have it completely natural. And then they turned around and said, well, that's the reason that you do it, because she's probably got an autoimmune condition, and pretty much made me feel like I was being negligent and a terrible mother. And, I don't have too many regrets in my life. But this one I'm about to tell you is one of my biggest regrets. And the regret is that I didn't listen to my own inner voice that was telling me, don't do this. I couldn't tell you exactly the why. I mean, yes, I can tell you the why, but the specifics of it. But it was just a strong knowing of, no, don't do this. And I gave in to the pressure. I got so confused and overwhelmed, and the last thing I wanted to be was do bad by her and be a bad mum. I was doing everything I could to do the right thing for her. And so my intuition, my gut is telling me no. And then I overrode that and I let them give her the first lot that normally she would have got at 6 weeks. And by this time she's about 9 months. And I guess it's the lesson I needed to learn, because she had a extremely severe reaction after having that. Her skin really broke out terribly. She was very unwell for a good few days, fevering, and it was like she was on fire. It's like her body, her skin was on fire. It was awful. It was really awful, and like I said, I obviously regret doing it, but what it did do, it brought out a fire in me that I had this strong mama bear. Never again am I going to doubt myself and hand my power over to another person, entity, or institution, and override my own knowing. And I never have since. So I unfortunately needed that big wake-up call for our situation, for our family, like I said. And I'm not saying that it was just from she already had eczema. That's fine. The immunisations didn't create the eczema, but they certainly didn't help it. They aggravated it. And it kind of awakened something in her. And then from that point on, we spent the next 3 or 4 years battling, trying to get it under control. And trying to get it under control in a more natural way and not use Band-Aid solutions like steroid cream all the time. Because her skin, top to toe, head to feet, was covered. Luckily her face was, for whatever reason, fairly clear, but the rest of her body was covered. You couldn't really see skin, actual normal skin. So to put steroid cream on it, they'd just say, just put it on the patches of eczema. Well, her whole body was covered. It would mean using a tube every time we needed to apply it, and it just didn't feel right at all. So we went, we spent thousands of dollars really trying to find ways to support her in a more holistic way without having to rely on that. And it was really wanted to get to the root cause of what was going on and really understand what eczema is actually about. And it's actually hereditary on my husband's side of the family, with all the female line, and Maya's cousins, who are much older than her, all had varying levels of eczema, some of them quite severe as well. And they're all adults now, but I didn't want that for her. I wanted to rewrite the story, and I just had this strong feeling of, I just want to change it at genetic level. change your DNA, rewrite that, everything, just take it out. And this is even before I knew about epigenetics and all of those things. And it just took me on this massive journey. And I think, 2012 is a big year in many calendars. And I think for me, it was fully the year where I had my, I don't know, awakening, if you like. I got back onto the path where um, maybe I was supposed to be. And it took my daughter having a really serious condition to get me there. So I learned so many different things, many different modalities. But all this time I was kind of in fix-it mode. I really wanted to fix it. I wanted to take it away. I wanted to make her better. And that's all well and good, but at the same time I was so run down, so tired. We didn't sleep. Honestly, she was this amazing baby to start with, and it wasn't her fault. She was just so itchy and scratchy, and we'd have bandages and make little wee mittens and all different things, but she would, where there's a will, there's a way. And you know what it's like. Even one mosquito bite, it drives you nuts. That was her whole body. So she's just wanting to, yeah. And if she did get hold of, out of her little sleeves that would put on her, we'd have blood everywhere. She'd just rip her skin to shreds. In fact, I can't even believe the body's so incredible that it heals, because I truly thought she'd be scarred for life with some of those big scratches that she used to do. So I would sleep with her, and I would hold one of her hands and then wrap my leg around one of her legs, so her feet, she couldn't scratch herself, and I would just sort of get her to sleep. And I pretty much didn't sleep. So I was very run down and quite depleted, if you like. And I was still breastfeeding her because I was trying to keep her immune system up. And yeah, it was tricky times. And it wasn't until somebody said to me, "Have you tried Reiki?" And I said, "Never heard of it, but I'm open and willing to give anything a go." So I booked in for this Reiki appointment, and she said, "Just come by yourself first, and we'll talk about, what it is." And when I went to her place, I felt, that feeling where, or inside in your stomach's kind of doing a happy dance. It wasn't a nervous gut feeling. It was like an excited feeling, and it felt like, well, I was totally meant to be there. And everything she was sharing, we talked for, gosh, a good 3 hours about, she's also a clairvoyant. So many aspects. And then she looked at me and she said, "You're a healer." And I said, "No." She said, "No, you are. You just haven't got on that path fully yet. But you will now." And didn't really fully know what she meant. But with the Reiki, I ended up learning it myself so that I could have it in my toolkit, if you like, to use with my family. And what I realized with learning Reiki is, and I'll do a whole different episode on this later on, so I won't talk too much about it now, but what it did is it relaxed me and calmed me enough that I could be in that balanced sort of flow space and not get overwhelmed and not get stressed, and I could handle some of the big challenges that were coming our way. And I did, and it just really kept me in this nice harmonious flow and just acceptance of what it was. And also realizing that I can't necessarily fix Maya. I can do everything I can to make her life more comfortable, but I can't necessarily take it away fully. And it was an acceptance of that fact, which was humbling. And I think I got to a point where I had a knowing of, it's like also trusting my own inner voice again. I had this knowing of, I've got to stop outsourcing all of my needs for her and for myself. And so once I started making everything for her, so everything that went in her body, food, and on her body, her creams and balms, I made myself so I knew exactly what was in everything. So she's super sensitive to, back then, everything, any colorings, preservatives, chemicals, um, everything, sugars. So we'd already eliminated uh, gluten and dairy, sugar. She couldn't have eggs for a while. She herself would not eat meat, and I realised, again, that's because red meat's very acidic and she needed more alkaline foods. So I started tuning in and listening to what she was showing me as well. And once I did that and got really clear on what was going in and on her, I felt like I stepped into my power more and I relaxed more and I just dropped into what was. And slowly but surely, things started to improve to the point now she's nearly 12 and her skin's beautiful. She does have a few little patches on her feet here and there, but it's nothing compared to what it was. And it's been pretty good since probably she's about 4. About by 4 or 5, we'd done well, and she's got no damaged skin now, no scarring, and it was a really rough few years, but we did it. And so we had to heal the gut and really look at her gut health and liver health. So there's a bit of detoxing from some of the chemicals. Obviously, the immunizations for her it's just too much for her system to handle with everything that is in them. And yeah, so we had to clear a lot of stuff out. And I just felt really, I don't know, what's the word? I had just a trust and a deep knowing of what was right and what wasn't for her and for our family. Like I said, this is our story. And once I fully trusted that and allowed that to just be, things got so much easier. And in all facets of our life, it enabled me to, I was still working. I was working nearly full time, and it just was not viable having a very unwell little girl and trying to work. And I had this, it's so ridiculous, the stories we tell ourselves, thinking that I needed to be working and I should be working. And for the most part, I actually did financially. We're in a situation at that time that I needed to be working. But again, this is another regret. If I could turn back that clock and do that again, I would have made it work. That I didn't need to work. I would have been home with her more, a lot more. But I can't go back and change anything. But it's just hindsight's a wonderful thing. And I think this is why I'm so strong in advocating for mums now, and to try and help them find their voice, or even be a voice for them if they need it. Because, I didn't have that person when I was going through all of this with Maya. I didn't have anyone to guide me or give me, that support, or in that knowledge, wisdom space. And when your friends at the time, my friends had children of the exact same age, and so they're going through the baby and the toddler phase. They're going through their own experience, and it's full on for them too, and it's not easy to then ask for help. And I think what I do now, and how I try and hold space for people, uh, particularly mums, is I'm trying to do what I would have liked for myself or could have benefited from for myself, because I had a lot of learning to do on my own, but I there were little earth angels along the way that did pop up and help, like the Reiki teacher I was telling you about, Jean, because she was definitely a blessing and put me on to that path, which I'm super grateful for. But when I would, every night I'd go to bed, and Maya and I are in bed, and, I know I'm not going to sleep, but every night I'd lie there and I would go over all of the things I was grateful for in the day, because some days were hard. They were so, so hard. And it's easy to spiral, and it's easy to take yourself to a dark place of despair because there was no light. For a long time, there's no light at the end of the tunnels. It wasn't good. So I don't know where I got this from, but I think I probably heard it. I don't know. Or I'd heard it previously and I remembered it, or it just came from within. I don't know. But I would do this gratitude practice. This is before gratitude was a thing, or that I knew was a thing. And I'd just go over all the things I was grateful for in that day. And you know what? Some days, to be quite honest, I'm grateful that the sun came up today. And I'm grateful that we've got a roof over over our heads, and real basic things. It was hard to find anything more than that, but it always made me feel better. And I'd do the same thing in the morning, is just have this gratitude practice. And then once I'd learned Reiki, using that with that too, it really kept me in this all is good space. And I'd find, like, this too shall pass. That was my favorite mantra for quite a long time, years. This too shall pass. And you know what? It did. It does. It does pass. Even when you're in the depths of the deepest despair, watching your child truly suffer, because there were times she was on top of the eczema, there'd be skin infections and boils, and I can't even I can't even explain. It's pretty full on. But it was, this too shall pass. And it did. And when I learnt Reiki, there are some Reiki precepts that we learn. And it starts with just for today. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not get angry. Just for today, I'll try my best and work hard. Just for today, I'll be kind and compassionate to all living things. And that really resonated with me, because it's just for today. Just for today, I need to do this. I'm not projecting into the future. It's just for today. I won't worry, and I'll try my best just for today. And those really got me through as well. And yeah, I will continue on another episode about where it sort of led me to today, because having Maya and having that eczema experience, it just was a huge awakening, I feel. And it fully got me back onto where I was supposed to be all along, the path I was supposed to be on. And I was busy on the scenic route, looking at the shiny things in other directions. And I know that that's the truth for me. So that's Maya. That's her journey into becoming Earthside. And, amongst it all, this little one never complained. She never complained, and she still doesn't complain. She's really resilient. She's the most beautiful, compassionate little Pisces girl. she's so strong, and she just taught me so much, and never once did I ever, because some people would say to me, "I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you're doing it." And I'm like, "I'm doing it. It's not me. I mean, look at her. I'm tired, but she's experiencing all of the hardship, the pain, and the discomfort. And look at her. She's still smiling. Even when she's feeling, really rubbish, she will always she's smiling, and she's living her best little life and making the most of every day. And yeah, it's really humbling. And she taught us and continues to teach us so much. So this little one who's about to turn 12 on Sunday is, yeah, my little gift, I think. She helped me find that inner voice and listen to it. And I think the moral of the story is for each of you, regardless of where you're at in your situations, we each have that inner voice, that intuition, that gut guidance, whatever you want to call it. We each have it, and it's just what we do with it. Do we choose to listen to it or ignore it? And I have found every time I've listened to it, it never ever steers you wrong. It is in essence your true north. And so in order to hear it, you need to find time to be still. And in our busy, busy worlds and busy lives, that's not easy to do. But in the stillness and the quiet, that little voice is trying to talk to you, the internal voice, trying to get you back towards your true north. So I leave you with take time. When you make yourself that cup of tea or coffee, try and sit there and drink. Just sit down. Sit down and drink it. Enjoy it. And it's amazing what that stillness can bring. Either clarity, peace of mind, or it might be little aha moments, but whatever they are, they're there. And yeah, try and listen. And so thank you for listening to my story today. This will be fully unedited and maybe a little bit rambly in places, but I'm trying to keep it as succinct as possible. And as time goes on, I will go into more detail with certain areas of that journey. And I just wanted to give you the contrast of the two. And I leave you with the well wishes of a beautiful soul-filling day and soul-filling week ahead. And I appreciate you so, so much. Bye.